Hi there, this is another video about Sigma DSLRs, and I'm making it because they've dropped the price of their flagship DSLR, the SD1, to $2,300. This makes it much more affordable than their initial price of $9,700 or their interim price of $6,700. You may know from my last video on Sigma that I thought they could do much better in 3 areas. The pace of their R&D, which I thought could be sped up, their pricing, and their megapixel advertising. Lowering the price of the SD1, which they're now calling the SD1 Merrill in honor of the Foveon sensors inventor, is clearly a step in the right direction. I think they're also working on newer, more performant models of their DSLRs, which addresses my other concern about the pace of their R&D. And to that end, I'd like to encourage them to focus on 2 things. One is a full-frame 35mm Foveon sensor, and the second is 1080p HD video capture. I think those 2 features packed in a DSLR with a Foveon sensor would make it a truly amazing, a true flagship DSLR. But it would have to come to market within the next year, because who knows what other developments may occur during this time that might overshadow those 2 features in the mind of the consumers. Now, as for their megapixel advertising, I think people are understandably upset when they're told a Sigma DSLR will give them 46 megapixels, but they really only get 14. I'm upset by that as well, but I shouldn't be, because the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And here's what I mean by that. Even though we only get 14 megapixels, the camera does capture 46 megapixels because it captures 14 megapixels on each of its 3 sensor layers. It has to process all of that information. It's part of the equation when it comes to capturing accurate color at each pixel. It's a price that the camera has to pay in order to give us the really accurate color in those 14 megapixels that we can use out of each photo. It has to capture and store all of that information, all of that color information at each pixel, 3 times as much as what other cameras capture. I've also heard some people complain that it takes a while for a Sigma DSLR like the SD1 to write the raw file to the memory card. And this is for the very same reason. It writes 46 megapixels of information to the card each time you take a photo. More or less, 43 to 50 megabytes or something like that. It's about a megabyte per megapixel. So when you look at the raw file sizes for a normal 14 megapixel camera, you'll see that the file sizes range from 12 or 10 to 15 or 16 or so, but the average is 14 megabytes per 14 megapixels. You look at the raw file sizes for the SD1, the average is about 46 megabytes, a megabyte for each megapixel. So it really has to process and store all of that information. This is also why the FPS, the frames per rate, isn't as fast as with other DSLRs that use cropped sensors. Those DSLRs only have to write the information from a single plate sensor, and so they'll be able to process and write it much faster, therefore giving you a faster frames per second rate. If you were to compare the SD1 to other cameras that have to write a similar amount of information, you'd actually have to look at medium format cameras that use larger sensors that store a lot more information. And so when you look at the frames per second rate of those cameras and compare it to the SD1, then it turns out to be pretty good. So let me close by congratulating Sigma on the price drop, and by inviting those of you who are in the market for a DSLR to consider the SD1. If you're a studio or a landscape photographer, it should be very high on your list. That's it. Till next time, thanks for watching. Bye.